Hello everyone, and here I am in slightly strange circumstances inside my sitting room with my family all locked up with me, about to do a reading from All My Mad Mothers, which seems kind of timeless but not timely in a way. But there are certain things and themes that I feel are in those poems that speak of today as well, so I hope you will too. And thank you for joining me. And thank you to Nine Arches for organising this impromptu reading. So when I started thinking about what to read today, the first poem that sprang to mind was one I don't read very often, actually, called Chimex lectularius, which is Latin for bedbugs, a kind of infestation, right? And one that we found ourselves thinking we had a few years ago, so I spent a lot of time Googling bedbugs to try and find out whether it was that or not, and this is the resulting poem. I have learned this week that the common bedbug can survive for a year without a meal, and that Alzheimer's may be caused by fast food, which reminds me of David Blaine, suspended in a box above the Thames without so much as a single snack, while people pelted him with sausages and golf balls. How he descended, woozy after 42 days, murmuring, "I love you all," as if he had forgotten. Which causes me to wonder at the hunger and delusions of the loveless, like that anorexic girl in black who jogs past me every afternoon but never lets me smile at her, which leads me back intractably to longing and denial. Perhaps it is something to emulate. The bedbug's stoicism, how it lives reviled and passive in the cracks, waiting with quiet certainty for any fool to lie down in the dark. So I suppose as much as this poem is about mothers, as much as this book is about mothers, it's even more about love and the connections that we find with each other and the difficulties that come with love. It's divided into several sections, and the first section is, I guess, about childhood. So The Sound of Music was a film that came out when I was a small child, and we probably saw it 14 times at the Hampstead Odeon, but we also used to pretend to be the characters from the film. The Sound of Music. Nobody wanted to be Captain Von Trapp, but we always argued over Gretel. My sister was the smallest and the prettiest. She couldn't sing in tune, but I didn't dare tell her that, however much it pained me. Gretel had only one line. "The sun has gone to bed, and so must I." Whoever was Liesel had to be strong enough to lift her up, and that was always me. When I heard about the overdose, I could hear nothing but my sister murdering the melody again, but fuzzy, like a message sent across rooftops through yogurt pots and string. Maybe I should have told her. I didn't understand then that you can squander a lifetime trying to say small and pretty, believing you have the voice of an angel if only someone would hear it and carry you up the grand staircase to bed. So as I was saying, the book's divided into 4 sections, and the second section is not about childhood but more about coming of age, I suppose, and coming of age with a very libertarian, free-loving mother, which carried with it its own complications. The title of this poem is important. Virginity. Why not get it sorted in that lull between O-levels and results, and before I went to Paris for the summer job where anything might happen? I could consider losing it with Ian, who found me fascinating, ignore his nascent paunch at only 17, forget his parents lived in Boreham Wood. How burdensome, my mother kept saying, to drag the weight of it along with my other baggage all that way across the English Channel. So the book is partly about having a mother, and it's partly about being a mother. And I'm thinking a lot about people who have people they love living very far away from them or are not able to see them for whatever reason. So this is a sonnet I wrote shortly after my son moved to Toronto, where he still is now. When I think of you, I think of dogs and woks and all things green, onions sweating in the pan and music, taste of plenty and the feast of grain, tofu pressing under heavy bricks, potluck suppers, names of vegan beers, long abandoned toys in cardboard boxes, blinks and sighs you think will hide the tears of piercings, partings, oceans still to cross, protests, yours and mine, guitars, tattoos, my weary age, your optimistic youth, the way that water soaks through canvas shoes, of seas that ride to cloud, the common rain, of continents and shift, roots in the earth in the blood, of harvest and of change. And one time when I was visiting my son in Toronto, I was staying in a bed and breakfast, and there was a coffee table book about the history of Canada. And there was a chapter about the hunters in the 17th century in Nova Scotia, which only goes to show you can never be sure what is going to provide you with inspiration for a poem. So this is an epistolary poem, that is, it's in the form of a letter from a mother to a grown-up child. What time is it in Nova Scotia? Here it's 3 a.m, my love, and I can't stop thinking of walruses. Historical accounts of sailors who'd trap a calf and torture it until it screamed. The adult animals who heaved their terrible bulk ashore to save their young. I won't mention nobody's caught the man you ran from, but if you ever come home, I swear I'll keep you safe. But I mustn't say come home. Does the heating work? I won't ask about your cough, whether you're eating oranges and learning French, or if you like the vest I sent. I wish I could brush your hair. Remind me to send you recipes for soup. The adult walrus had no predators but man. So many dead, the hunters couldn't take them all and left them piled and useless on the écoucherie, which is French for sure, I think, but you'll know that by now if you're learning French. I won't ask about the terms of your employment, or if you're really healing, or about the lock on your front door and your broken heart. Not saying you have a broken heart, but if you ever do, that's a lovely, normal thing. I must go back to sleep, not think about your bicycle, broken locks, dark nights, intruders, walruses. Were they patients too? Were they parents too, I wonder? The men who sailed their galleons home laden with carcasses, meat for the voyage, skins for leather, ivory to decorate the wrists of ladies, oil to light the lamps of Europe, where I am now, oceans away from you at this quiet hour, heavy with the weight of walruses, aching to lay them down, knowing such burdens are not so easily offloaded, the hold of any beast or child, the helpless love one creature must bear another. So you'll notice I said patients instead of parents, and it's not that surprising, I suppose, given the circumstances that we're in and the kind of vocabulary that's around. But anyway, as I was saying, I think a lot of this book is actually about love, In fact, the love that mothers have for their children, but that people have for each other. This is Valentine for turbulent times. When you open your eyes to find great love beside you, and you tease open the heart with kisses and coffee, and you yawn and yearn and reach towards this snowdrop morning, a few lines of bliss might achieve liftoff, but for the cacophonous news that rolls across your horizon, grinning from its armoured tank as it exits the hatch to trip you up with its big dirty boots, even before you have a chance to rise. And love? There it is, running from fire and terror, small and useless, like the unseasonal ladybird crawling across this page, confused about what to do with its wings. This is called Everlasting. I hope you're doing well. This is my penultimate poem for this reading. One, again, I don't read very often, but feels apt for the current time. We never kept spares, and one winter's afternoon, consigned to darkness again, my mother sent me across the big road for a 60-watt bayonet bulb 10-shilling note in my palm, to the hardware shop where the lady with the beehive hooked one down from a shelf of shadows, lifted it from its sleeve and briefly pondered the condition of the filament before she eased it into the tester, where it blossomed and held us blinking in its bright circumference. Sometimes at night I lie with all my dead beside me in the absolute dark, and think of that winter, basking in the longings of the lost who can't be touched again. But how to let them go? The hardest task is judging when it's time to flick the switch and let myself be blinded by the excess radiance of these times where, my mother used to say, we had our chance at the everlasting light bulb, but in some secret deal, she claimed, abandoned it. And this was, of course, before LEDs and such things. And I believe that is actually true, that they did have a way of creating a longer lasting light bulb, but they decided not to do it, much as they took a long time to start making electric cars, right? Anyway, I digress. This is my final poem. Charm for Late Love speaks for itself. Hope you enjoy it. I will be on Twitter after this, so if you have any questions, I'd really be, well, extremely delighted to answer them. So thank you very much for listening and enjoying the interruptions as much as the poems. Charm for Late Love. Here we go again, my old crone. I'll ride your bone back, edge and turn, up where the wind songs coil and glow, feathers fall and currents churn. Candle, gutter, flare and burn. Let the stars drip sodden light. We'll find the shine once more. We'll name our quarry, rattle it through night. Let's taste the blood of the ancient game. Candle, snuff, gutter and flame. Let's wing it, old crow, deny the laws of chance. How hard it is to catch and hold a joy in yellowed claws, to risk the slip, outface the crash. Candle, gutter, snuff and ash. Let your straightened wings unfold, eclipse the moon with a surge and sweep through grip and glint of marrow cold. Let's hunt the heart we never keep. Candle, gutter, snuff and sleep. I don't want to boast or anything, but that is exactly 15 minutes. Thank you very much, Joan Kemain and Nine Archers. Bye.